Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 1 of the Everyday Adventure Podcast. What's going on, Megan?
Not much. I'm so excited. This is so fun.
I know. So if you are joining us today, you're joining a brand new podcast. You are not behind. You don't have 100 episodes to catch up on. Today you get to join and start this journey with us, and we're so excited about what this podcast is going to be, and we just really believe that this is for you that's listening today. And so what isn't this podcast? I think just Everyday Adventure, let's just get ahead of the name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, right off the bat, this isn't a travel podcast. We're not traveling the world. That would be really cool.
Maybe we'll just do a different place every episode. That seems like a hard work.
Yeah, but so it's not a travel podcast. We're not going around the world. And this is not also about not escaping your life, actually. Quite the opposite. It's about engaging in your life today, what you're doing today, not living for tomorrow or for the someday.
Absolutely. And so what we're going to do in this episode today is we're going to really break down why this podcast exists and kind of the idea, the thought behind it, who it's for, and then what our listeners can expect. This podcast is one that there's going to be a couple segments in it. There's going to be a couple unique things that come with us every episode, and there's going to be a lot of fun ways for people to engage with the podcast. Mm-hmm. And so we're super excited about that. But before we jump in, I think we should at least maybe introduce ourselves, don't you think?
I think it's about time. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, okay, I'll go first. My name is Stephen Glosser, and I just wrote a book called Everyday Adventure. Mm-hmm. So I think now the name might be clicking for you, but I just wrote this book. It's something that I've worked on for almost 10 full years. In the last couple of years, it's been all right, let's actually do this. Let's finish this. I worked as a pastor for nearly a decade, and just over the last 6 months or so, kind of jumped into a new role and working with a local nonprofit, doing marketing, but also started a business and really starting to say, okay, God, what do you have for us in this season? And I'm married to a wonderful human being named Taylor. She's fantastic. And
shout out Taylor.
Like the funniest person that's ever been on this planet. And you will get to meet her probably very, very, very soon on the podcast. And we have 3 kids, Kinsley, Summit, and Rowan, 7, 5, and 3. We live in, I was going to say our address. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
We live in Moorhead, Minnesota. And today, what's kind of fun about this podcast is that we're actually going to be filming it and recording it here in my home, which the space is a little tight, but the vibes are high and it's home. And it really, at the heart of this whole podcast is, finding adventure where you are and finding it in your home and finding it across the dinner table. So I'm super excited. Anything else the people should know about me, Megan?
I don't know. Not much.
Should I give a hobby or something?
Yeah, give a fun fact.
A fun fact. Okay. We have a dog named Kevin who will turn, he'll be 16 by the time this thing comes out. And I love sports. And I don't care who knows. That's a shout out to Andy Samberg back in the SNL days. But tell us a little bit about yourself, Megan.
Yeah. Well, my name's Megan Pikert. I met Stephen 3 years ago. And we met working at a church. I'm now a pastor since that time, and that's been really fun. I do a lot with event planning, with volunteers. That's kind of my big thing, and I'm super passionate about equipping people, especially people in positions of leadership in their lives. I just think that sometimes we get put in positions that we're kind of now what? Who's my support system? Where do I go to for resources or for just real and authentic conversations? And so that's really big passion of mine. I love reading. I love writing. I love talking
Arithmetic?
Oh. No.
You got 2 out of the 3. I figured you just finished it out,
Yeah. I'm really passionate about all the topics that we're planning on talking about, reflecting and being intentional with every day, with goal setting, things like that. And so, I'm really excited for just what this is and the conversations that we're going to have, the people that we're going to meet through this podcast. And
Absolutely. I think one of the things about this is that just to go back into the history a little bit, Megan and I did a podcast for the last few years, or I did it for 4 years, and it was really for young adults. And really, we decided to take a new step as a new chapter was unfolding in my life and in writing and starting a business. And we just really felt that a new podcast, a new conversation was to be had. And so there's going to be similarities if you are a going somewhere listener. However, there's going to be a lot of differences. And one of the things that's not different is that I decided to bring Megan along. And so Megan's going to be a part of the podcast. We're going to kind of share about her role with this in a little bit here. But one of the things we're going to do in every episode is what we're going to call celebration and anticipation. And one of the keys to living a life of adventure, one of the keys to if you just look at any adventure you had in your life, there's probably this moment where you really looked forward to it, whether that was a vacation or a big trip or a big day of some sort. There was like this build up, this hyping up of like, you had the countdown timer on your phone. And then obviously when it happened, there's a celebration. But what I've really realized in my life is that when you can draw that closer, when you can anticipate more, when you can anticipate just the everyday moments, the celebration follows. And so, I just really think there's science behind this, that your body actually releases many of the same hormones, and your body reacts in many of the same ways when you anticipate something happening as it does when it actually happens. And so just realizing that the more we look forward to, the more we celebrate, the more we have in our life that is something that we are excited about, that gives us purpose, that really shows us like, hey, today matters. And it's not just that trip that's taking place in 6 months. It's like that thing that's happening in 30 minutes from now. I'm looking forward to it. And so can you just share your heart behind kind of this whole idea of anticipation, celebration, and then we'll get into it for the first time with everybody.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really easy to anticipate like the big things in life, like you were saying, like the trip that's off into the future. But I think that there is something so intentional about anticipating something that you're doing tomorrow, something that you're doing this weekend. And I think, honestly, it created a lot more gratitude in my life.
Yeah.
And it helps me engage with today. And it also helps me be intentional to plan things that I would look forward to give my best yes to the things that deserve a good yes, and no's to the things that like should be no. And so it's been something that has been really helpful for me to like be intentional to plan things out, but then also just be grateful that I do have a good life and I have good friends that make me excited to hang out with them and celebrate with them and things like that.
That's awesome. And I think as we share ours for today, what we want you every episode to do is think about what's something that you can celebrate, what's something that you can anticipate, and keep drawing that circle closer. And so whether it's Megan and I sharing that towards the beginning of an episode or with a guest, that's going to be something that we ask every guest on the podcast is, what are they anticipating? What are they celebrating? This is something that we can all do together. So I'm going to start today. Now I feel like it's like therapy, like group therapy. Like, I'm Steven. Okay. This is what I'm celebrating. I'm celebrating the launch of this podcast. That's like a big one. I feel like that's an easy thing. And just the launch of the book. There's just so much going on right now. And, but there's been this anticipation. So that's more of like a true big one. This book is like 10 years of anticipation. But on the smaller scale, my 5-year-old son, he starts basketball, and I've been going to his practices, and he's got his first game coming up, and it is very, I'm not gonna lie, kind of painful to watch at times because nobody dribbles, and it's 9 guys guarding one. It's not 5-on-5, it's 9 versus 1. Even the offense is like, I want the ball, give me the ball. But I think it's just so fun. It's just like the start of something. And we were at practice recently, and he chucked up a shot, and he literally he chucked up a shot, and he literally like looked at us with like this proudest like, I did it. And so that's what I'm actually celebrating and anticipating. But something I'm anticipating is the book launch, and this is just coming real soon. By the time this episode airs, it's going to be about 5 days away, and to think that it's kind of crazy. We uploaded it for publishing. There's just been so many crazy things happening with it, so that's a big anticipation, like something that feels like is ready to burst, and I'm excited. What are you celebrating right now?
What I'm celebrating right now is community. I just feel like I've hit a sweet spot with a lot of friendships right now, prioritizing it. I'm naturally very introverted, kind of shy, kind of quiet, and I stick to like my 3 people. Yeah. And you guys know this. You and Taylor are two of the three, probably.
I thought our kids were the other ones.
Yeah, they are actually. They're the three, actually. But yeah, and so it's just been really fun to prioritize them. I've done a lot of movie nights and birthday parties, coffee dates, and it's just been sweet. I feel like I have people in my life that will be in my life forever right now, and that's really fun to be
awesome.
to be in your 20s and to know that I think I found some people that are gonna be committed for a long time in my life. So I'm just really grateful for them. So that's what I'm celebrating right now, which has been fun.
Amazing. And what are you looking forward to?
I'm anticipating, I'm going home today at the time of this recording, and I'm having a sister weekend with my sister. She's my best friend. I'm so excited. We've been on FaceTime just chatting about all the plans, which my sister has 2 boys, so I'm on auntie duty, which is why I'm going home. No daycare, so someone's got to watch the kids.
You are the daycare.
So, I'm excited to just hang out with them, and then, just have some quality time with family. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I think when anticipation is heightened, celebration happens more often. And so at home, take some time to think about this. Take some time to think about what you're celebrating. Just look back at the last week or two and just say, what good has happened? Because more often than not, one of the problems that we have and that we're going to address in this podcast, what I talk about in the book, is really the fact that we fail to see the good and fail to see what God is doing in our everyday lives. And so the better we can get at this, the more adventure we have in our life. And so what we're going to talk about right now, though, is the heart of this podcast. As we kind of step into this, we want you to know that as you're listening, what is this podcast all about? What are we going to be talking about? What's kind of the heart behind it? And so let's jump into it.
Yeah. So give us the heart of the podcast. Where does this come from? What are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, this podcast really flows out of the last 10 years of just kind of exploring this whole idea and this whole topic. And we can dive into this more as episodes unravel. But one of the biggest things was about, 15 years ago, I was a college student and I was really in this place where I was like, man, I can't wait for the weekend. I can't wait to graduate. I can't wait to get a real job. I can't wait to get married. There's always this next thing that I was looking forward to. And it was in that season that the term or the phrase everyday adventure just kind of gripped me. And so I bought it, or I started a blog called Everyday Adventure. And I just started writing just kind of my daily adventures, my prompts that just came to my mind. And I would just write about the things that were happening in my life and how I was finding God in the ordinary. And that kind of grew into an idea of man, I should write a book about that someday. I bought a leather-bound notebook that I wrote Everyday Adventure on the top. And now 10 years later, that's kind of the world that I'm living in. Is this book is coming out, this podcast is coming. And so really the heart of it is wanting to help people find intentionality or build intentionality in their life so that they would be able to experience all that God has for them, to really truly live life to the fullest, as it says in John 10:10, that as a follower of Jesus, the goal isn't just to get safely to the finish line, and it's really to make a difference and to live a full, intentional life here on this earth. And so this podcast is really about building intentional rhythms and presence in the moment and maximizing the mundane and resisting complacency and finding the perseverance to keep moving when life pulls you into that doldrum, this doesn't matter, what's all this for place, that we can find the strength to keep going.
Yeah, it's so good. And yeah, John 10:10 I feel like is a core verse for just this idea that I just it makes me think, it says he came to give us life and life to the full. And I'm just what if we actually took God up on that promise that you came to not just give us life, but life to the full? Well, how full is full? Let's see what all he has for me. And just it kind of creates that anticipation for me reading it, thinking oh, there's more than I could ever imagine a part of my life that God has, the blessings, the promises, and things like that. So yeah, it's really exciting to just kind of think about the idea that every day is an adventure when you're following the Lord and when you're trusting in him, what he can do. But I'd also want to address, before we get too far, what's the problem that you see people facing? Why is this conversation important? We're not just talking to talk about it, but clearly there is something to be addressed here.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, if we're just really honest with ourselves, we're living on autopilot. We're just kind of like going through the motions, and work becomes dull, and marriages become dull, and just life becomes so dull when we kind of lose sight of what God really is calling us to. Eugene Peterson, that same verse, his kind of take on it is that Jesus gives us more and better life. Like he actually gives us more and better life. So the opposite of that is that I have less and worse, that when I'm not living in that center of what God has for me, if I'm not putting him first, if I'm not really following him, because that's the greatest adventure. Like this podcast is really about helping people uncover that following Jesus is the greatest adventure of all time. It leads to opportunities and relationships that can change your life forever. And so really what we want to address though is, why doesn't it feel like that? Like, why is it that so often we just kind of are living and existing, waiting for something else to happen, waiting for another season, waiting for another milestone, another version of life? There's this idea called acedia, and I heard it in a variety of settings, but Alan Fadling writes on it a lot. And one of the things that he says is he kind of defines it as an anywhere but here mentality, that acedia follows you wherever you go. So whenever you get to the next place, that same thing creeps back in of like, I wish I was anywhere but here. It's kind of that the grass is greener, and you go to that new job and all of a sudden you feel the same tension, and you get into a new relationship and all of a sudden you start to see all their flaws, and you start to backpedal, and you're like, well, this isn't right either. And we just can't really ever find that place. And so we keep yearning and longing for something else. And so I think for a lot of people, part of the problem is that we think something's going to fix it. And so we keep filling our lives with these holes, or we keep filling our holes with these different things, whether it's, well, okay, if I'm just more successful, if I can get in the right relationship, if I can get the promotion, if I can make more money, if I can buy the right thing, then I will have a more meaningful life, a more successful life, a more fulfilling life. And then we just keep kind of falling down the same staircase going like, well, how did I get here again? And so I think that's a big part of the problem. What would you add to that though, Megan?
Well, I think you nailed it. I think that especially as like someone speaking from in my early 20s is like, there is this mentality of chase the next season. And it's like when you're in high school, you just want to graduate. You just want to be in college. When you're in college, you're like, I just want to get married or have a career. And then I want to have kids. And then I just want to retire. And you kind of just live for the someday. And I think that mentality produces a lot of discontentment and a lot of like, it sets you up for disappointment, I think. And because you're waiting for something else to fulfill you. And so I think that there's an opportunity for contentment. There's an opportunity for joy and for you to just like really engage with your life. And I kind of had the moment, this was years ago now, but I felt like life was just happening to me. Like I was just going through the motions through life. I was just working every day and maybe going to life group, like my small group when I could, going to church, whatever. And I kind of just paused one day and I was like, I don't think I'm engaging with my life. And I think that is something that people don't even realize they're not doing. They wake up and get the kids ready for school and they go to work and then they come home, make dinner, put them to bed and do it all over again. And there's just like, there's so much opportunity that I think is available to us if we are intentional about looking for it.
Yeah. And I think the person that this podcast is for isn't like somebody that is just carelessly living their life and is just like, I'll do whatever. Like this really is for the person that actually is just wondering, is this even possible? Like, I feel like the minutia of life has just taken me down this path. And a lot of times we accept it. And so one of the biggest things is that we're going to redefine what mundane is. Because I think mundane is this like kind of doldrum word that people just kind of despise of like, we just have to get through the mundane things. Well, the reality is the majority of our life is filled with mundane things, of cooking meals and cleaning up the meals and, wiping butts when you're a parent and like all these things. And it's like, man, yeah, I do not like that, but we can despise these things or we can actually learn to find the good in them. And so that's why this podcast exists. It's not to add more to your life. As you're listening to this, what we don't desire is that you would walk away going like, okay, I have a checklist of 14 things I need to do if I want to live better. No, what this podcast is really for is really helping you understand that you can have the life that God has designed for you right where you're at. You don't have to move. You don't have to get a new job. And it's closer than you think. And really a life of adventure is closer than you think. And so just beyond that, when you think of the person that you hope is listening and that you hope has earphone in their ears right now and is on the treadmill or wherever you're listening to this, what do you hope that they're like? What do you think about them?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll probably come at it from two different perspectives because we're in two different seasons of life, but I just think that I hope that it's a young adult listening that that wants to live a full life, that wants to live a life of adventure, that I just think that there is so much power and like we can stand on other people's shoulders of wisdom. And I don't want to get to my 30s and be like, I wished it away or I missed out. And I really think that young adults, we have a tendency, we can hop on a bandwagon and we can like go all in and be passionate about something. And I think this is a really great opportunity to be passionate about your life and be passionate about the rhythms and the intentionality and the schedule and what you're prioritizing. And I just hope that like my generation, like we can be the people that start from someone else's finish line rather than repeating patterns of generations that have gone before. And so that's who I'm hoping is listening. My own self at 18, that person. But is there someone that you have in mind when you're having these conversations?
Yeah, I think it's the ordinary person, the person that's, working that job that, maybe feels like, is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? And there's people that genuinely have that job, but then they're in different areas of their life. They're just wondering, is there more than this? I think that's the question that I kind of picture the person listening to this is asking, like, is there more to this? Or is it okay to desire like greater adventure? And I think what we're trying to help in this podcast is realize that adventure might not be what you think it is. I think of the movie The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, and he'll come up again. But The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, there's this thing where he daydreams about going on these wild and crazy adventures. And then there's the guy that's played by Sean Penn, the photographer that's behind the lens, that his view of like fulfillment and success and life itself is Walter Mitty, this guy that was living this very boring, ordinary life. And so I think it's that person, the stay-at-home parent, exhausted and carrying guilt because they feel like they're not good enough. The leader winning at work but losing at home. Like the person that's like maybe crossing off bucket list items at work and climbing that ladder, but they feel like they're slowly losing their family, or the college student that's just counting down until graduation, or the person who believes life will finally start after a certain accomplishment or relationship. Like I think that's who I'm thinking about. And really, I think this podcast is for anyone who wants to live their ordinary life with more intention, not somewhere else, but right where they are. And so that's a little bit of our heart of what this podcast is for and who it's for. But Megan, let's talk about kind of the rhythm of this podcast. Like, what's this going to look like week in and week out?
Yeah. Well, a big part of us is keeping it conversational. We want people to feel like they're just sitting with us, having this conversation with us, but we're going to explore topics, questions, or attention related to intentional living or healthy rhythms. And so we're really going to deep dive into something. We have talked about the idea of doing series, so not trying to fit everything that we know into one episode, but maybe taking you along for a couple of them. And it's really going to be rooted in conversation, reflective, and practical. That's a big part of this, as well as that we don't want to just be talking to you. We want you to be able to engage with it, give you some handles to be able to incorporate into your own life as well. And that's a big part of our heart, is just that like you would be along in this journey with us, that as we figure out how to live every day to the fullest and everyday adventure, that you would be able to do it as well. And so it'll always be rooted in that, and we want this to be attainable for you today.
Yeah. And so really kind of the format of this episode, we're going to, this first episode might be a little bit different because we're just trying to help you understand what this is all about. But there's going to be kind of two primary things. And so there's going to be conversations between Megan and I, and or another co-host. There's going to be other co-hosts that kind of circle through a little bit. And we're just going to talk about these concepts. And so that could be really camping out on relationships. That could be really camping out on, just life at home. What a lot of people are defining as the 5 to 9, that time after you get home from your work that feels so defined and is so predictable. And then you have this 4 to 5 to 6 hour window of time. Like, what do you do in that? And so we're going to have those conversations, but we're also going to have interviews with experts and really people that we see living this out in one of the areas or in one of these areas. And so we've got some guests lined up to come on. We've got a therapist that's going to come on to really unpack how do we develop resilience in our life. We're going to talk to different pastors who have different kind of core areas of teaching and topics. And one episode that I'm super excited is right around the corner, but Carson Wentz, NFL quarterback. He's been a friend of mine for a long time. He wrote the foreword for my book. And he's just somebody that has experienced all these incredible moments and has been in the spotlight in these unique ways, yet his life behind the scenes is one, he just enjoys it and he thrives in that, and he has learned this way of really embracing where he's at. And he's lived in, we're going to talk about how he's lived in like 7 or 8 cities in the last 10 years from his professional football career in college football, and how he's made home in each of those places, because I think that helps us. Like, seasons change, and we go to new places or we enter into new seasons, and how do we make home of the place that we're at? And so those conversations are going to be fun. They're going to be organic. They're going to be really directed at something that we really want to target, that area of conversation. And so the first several episodes are going to be diving into my book, Everyday Adventure, which is really the heartbeat of this podcast. But we're going to walk through just a couple of the big ideas from that book. So we're going to do it, you and I, and then the next episode is going to be a guest. And so how often are we going to be publishing episodes, Megan?
Yeah. So we're going to publish every week. On Monday mornings, we're going to start. You can start your week with us. We're really excited about just being consistent with that. And we really feel like, especially with the beginning episodes, like really going all into the different areas of your book is going to be really fun. Yeah. And to also have guests that we have seen really live it out and, be able to model that for other people. And then, so we're excited to just like deep dive into the book. Your book launches February 1st, which is so soon. Yeah. And so we're excited to just kind of, keep the momentum going with the conversation. We really feel like it adds a ton of value. Yeah, for sure. And so that's going to be kind of the heart or like the rhythm of the podcast is we're going to kind of kick it off with anticipation, celebration. We're going to really bring these kind of core ideas, and as we go, we're going to build it together. And so what's going to be really exciting is that there's a framework that we're going to start to unveil as time goes on. And so that might not be because really what I've learned about rhythms, Megan, is that rhythms are not something that you just start 12 of at a time. You really start with one at a time, and you build in something that becomes kind of the rhythm of your life. And then you can start going, okay, now how can I continue to build on this? How can I build on this rhythm? And that's what we want to help people identify, is like those core rhythms that they can identify. And with the podcast, we're going to build it the same way. And so really, as we start out, we are starting out with this idea of celebration and anticipation of like, what good in my life can I celebrate, and what can I look forward to? And another aspect that we're going to weave in from the beginning is a practical element, which is going to be our Everyday Adventure Challenge. And so this is something that comes along with the book, and there's going to be a weekly challenge that we can invite you into that you can participate with and share about. These could be practical, like
meet your barista, just ways to get you out of your comfort zone, ways to help you find meaning and purpose and adventure in your everyday life. And so there's other ones. It's called the big gulp challenge. I just love that one. But the idea behind that one is just do something that makes you gulp. That's something that is out of your element, that pushes you out of that comfort zone. Other challenges are more reflective. It's really, okay, now today you're going to take time to write a letter to somebody that you need to forgive. And these are not always going to be these are easy.
In my head, I just went gulp.
That was the big, that's Megan's big gulp. But the idea behind all of these things is that you actually start practicing every week what it means to live a life of everyday adventure. And so what we're going to really encourage our community to do is to share it with each other, to encourage one another, that as you participate in these challenges, you take a picture with your barista and you post it. You don't have to post your letter, but you can talk about what freed in you, or what that experience felt like. Because I think the more we do this together, the more we're going to be able to feel that wind of, man, we're going in the same direction together, and this is exciting.
Yeah, I mean, our heart at the end of the day is to create community around this, that we're not meant to do life alone. We're not meant to be isolated. And so we really want to challenge you guys to participate in this. This is something that we're trying to live out. So you're not alone in trying to, meet your barista and write that letter. We're going to be doing these as well, right along with you, because we really see the value in them. And we know that there's so much power in testimonies and what this could be. We all have an ideal life, but that starts today in the way that you're living today, in the rhythms that you have today. And so starting to incorporate it slowly but surely, and we'll see where we look 1 year from now, which will be crazy. Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that we want to invite you into, is not just, yes, a weekly rhythm of putting us in your ears and hanging out with us for 30 minutes, but also we want you to walk away with that action mindset of okay, I want to live this way. I don't want to just hear it. When I wrote the book, I wrote it in a way that wasn't as much about, I hope they just highlight some really good thoughts and put it back on their bookshelf, but I really want this book and this concept, this idea, to be something that really helps us maximize and live the life that God has for us, to step into that more and better life. And so a few ways that we're going to build this community is obviously through these challenges. But where do we talk about these challenges? Well, we're going to be posting on an Instagram page called Everyday Adventure. Everyday Adventure podcast, all those were taken. So Everyday Adventure. And then my personal account is Stephen Glosser. And so that's the best place that you can connect with us. But also go to my website, which is stephenglosser.com/podcast. And on that podcast webpage, you're actually going to be able to share voice memos. You're going to have links to those different things. When there's a challenge, that challenge will be, you'll be able to access those challenges and sign up to be a part of that challenge where it comes to you. You don't have to wait for it. It will come to you every week. And so that's a little bit. So we invite you to submit questions, to share stories, to send short voice recordings, and really help us build this thing. And so this isn't just content. We really see this as a journey that we get to be on together.
Yeah, we're so excited. We hope that you guys are excited as you're listening. We can't wait for just the adventure to begin with this podcast. It's been a long time coming, just thinking and dreaming what it could be. But as we close the episode, anything you want to leave our listeners with?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's places that you're living on autopilot right now, but I don't think that that's where it has to stay. And I really do believe that there is something around the corner for every single person, that as they step into this, we don't have to rush through every day. And one of the biggest things we're going to talk about is awareness. We just don't recognize what's happening in our lives. We don't see it. We're not aware. And so we're going to slow down together and really discover that adventure isn't out there. Adventure is closer than you think. And that's going to be a huge heart of this thing. And so this week, what we're going to do, though, is we're going to kick off our first adventure challenge. And so we're going to invite you into this. And this adventure challenge, what's it called, Megan?
It's called Adventure Buddy Challenge.
So this is the Adventure Buddy Challenge. And really the heart of this is to find somebody, choose a person, a friend, a spouse, a coworker, a roommate, and invite them into the journey with you. whether that's by sharing this episode or listen together or separately and talk about just the heart of this, talk about the questions of it, and talk about what are you longing for? Like where in what parts of your life are you living on autopilot? In what ways are you hoping that something else would happen, that you would have a new season, a new job, and how can you actually start to embrace where you're at today? And maybe part of this whole challenge is to share something that you're celebrating and anticipating with somebody in your life.
Yeah, and we don't want you to miss out on like reminders or keeping up with the community. And so we just want to invite you to connect with us on Instagram is probably the best way, and that's Everyday Adventure, or the webpage stevenglosser.com/podcast to submit questions, stories, and even a short voice memo, which I think is so fun, just to get to hear from you guys. Your input will help shape future episodes. We also, as much as we have an idea of what this looks like, we want to be able to help you right where you're at and what you're walking through.
Absolutely. And so as we close out today, though, just want to encourage you, if this episode resonated with you, we'd love if you followed wherever you're listening, whether that's on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or YouTube, to not miss any episodes that are coming out. And then also, if you like it, leave a review, because one of the best ways to kind of reach new audiences and new people is, one, by sharing it. And so sharing it on your Facebook or your Instagram stories or wherever you kind of do those things, but then also by leaving that review. The more ratings and reviews the podcasts get, the more the services kind of bump them up. And so we'd love for you to share with your community what you're excited about here on the Everyday Adventure podcast. And so just want to encourage you to lean in. There's going to be a couple episodes right off the gate that you can listen to. But as we build this together, we just want to really encourage you to come with an open heart of what God can do, because we believe that there is more and better life waiting for each and every one of you. That life to the fullest isn't something that is for somebody else. It's for you. It's for you in your ordinary everyday life. And so this podcast exists because we believe your everyday life matters and that adventure is closer than you think.
Yeah, we're excited.
Hey, we're very excited. Thanks for being here. This is your invitation into the Everyday Adventure, and we're really glad you're on this journey with you. We'll see you on the next episode.